Thank you for looking at this section of the Self-Help for Stroke website. My name's Dave Burton and I work in the Voices Scotland team, which is part of Chest, Heart and Stroke Scotland. And within that team, we look at all sorts of ways of supporting people to self-manage their condition. I've had an interest and I've been a user of mindfulness for many years, and we found it a really useful thing for people after they've had a stroke. So I want to kind of take a little bit of time just to introduce you to what mindfulness is, tell you a bit about it, it will be just an introduction, give you some ideas about where you can find more information, and then last of all, actually talk you through a mindfulness exercise. Mindfulness, as I say, is just a way of learning to relax, and there's all sorts of worries that sometimes people have about learning something like relaxation. People sometimes think it's kind of a bit kind of spooky and weird, and that you've got to kind of sit cross-legged on a mat or a carpet or something. But actually, mindfulness is something that you can do any time of day, waiting for a bus, standing in a queue, just sitting at home quietly, or even walking down a street, walking through a country lane or through a busy city. So it's something that you can use throughout your life. It's not something that you have to go off into a quiet room and lay down and practice. So where does mindfulness come from? Well, it comes from that experience we often have as children. If you think back to when you were a child, and you know that sense of when you were totally absorbed with play. So you're reading a book, or you're playing with your toys, or you were playing with your friends, and you were completely absorbed in that moment. Nothing else bothered you, nothing interrupted your thoughts. You were just doing one thing at that time. And what mindfulness is trying to do is to get you back to concentrating on one thing at one time. And basically, what you're trying to do is concentrate on what's happening right at this moment and try and shut everything else out. So it's not about controlling your thoughts, it's actually just narrowing them down into one thing. And that may sound a bit strange, and you may think, well, how am I going to do that? And it is a skill. And when you go through the exercise I'll talk you through at the end of this introduction, you may find that it doesn't work for you. But what you have to remember is that perhaps you're going to have to try and do it 2 or 3 times, maybe even half a dozen times before it works for you. And if you think about any new skill that you have to learn, say learning to ride a bicycle for the first time, or maybe when you learn to drive a car or learn to use a computer, that, it feels quite strange, it feels quite odd, and mindfulness won't be any different to that. So practice makes perfect. And the key thing in mindfulness is that what you're trying to do is just let your mind go where it wants to go, but also at the same time, you're trying to focus on one thing at one time. And the way that I'll show you how to do that initially is to concentrate on your breathing. Because if you can actually learn to slow down your breathing and control your breathing and focus all your attention on your breathing, you'd be surprised at how much better you can feel in terms of feeling less stress and less anxiety. At the page on the website, there'll be some links to take you to show more information, a book and websites that you can look at, and we'd recommend that you do that. But just briefly to tell you that mindfulness, the evidence of mindfulness now is really very good, in that it shows, for example, that it reduces blood pressure, it can help with insomnia particularly, and also, more importantly than probably both of those, it gives people a sense of control again over their life. Sometimes when you've had a major illness, it can feel that things are kind of out of your control. And mindfulness gives you a little bit of time, a few moments in the day when you actually feel much more in control of what's happening to you. So we're suggesting to you that you give it a try it out a few times, and hopefully you'll find some use from it. So good luck with it.